What's up, family? Thank you for tuning in to the DreamNation podcast. My name is Casanova. I'll be your host, and I'm excited to be bringing to you entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers from around the world. Stay locked in with us because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life. What's up, Dream Nation? We are back again, and I have an episode for you all that I am sure will not only inspire you, but hopefully it will help you to be able to find your inner genius. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming my sister, Miss Genesis Dorsey. Genesis, hey, you want to go ahead and say what's up to Dream Nation?
Hello, Dream Nation. How are you guys doing?
God, it's a pleasure to have you on here. Now, I always like to make sure we give the proper introduction for every guest. And the way that I do that is I make the analogy of us as entrepreneurs, just like superheroes. And the reason being is because we're constantly putting on a cape, we're flying around the world, and we're trying to solve the biggest problems. So before you became this superhero for helping other people unlock their inner genius and whatever their passion in their mind is, take us back to when you were just a young girl and tell us, who is Genesis Dorsey?
Wow, young girl. Extremely curious. I was the one that was always asking the questions, why? So if you said, this is what this is, I would say why. And if you answer that question, I would say why. So I was always the curious cat. I was still to this day, extremely bubbly, loved science, loved anything related to history and art. I was always outside, just spending time around nature. I'm just always the girl who was just always curious to know, always curious to learn, even if that got me into trouble. So if that included getting lost in the woods behind the house, and then, it being 10 o'clock at night, and my mother thinks that some animal had gobbled me up. But that was me, just always curious, always trying to learn things and figure out how the world worked.
I love it. And I would tell you that I was somebody my whole life who was always curious as well. So don't feel bad about that. But I feel like for those of us who were curious, it always gave us exposure to different perspectives. And it helped us to learn about what we liked, but more importantly, what we didn't like. And so I would ask you, along your journey, where did you begin to figure out what you loved?
Oh, wow. So for me, I learned what I loved through going through something I didn't want to do. I thought I was going to be an osteopathic pediatrician. I had everything planned, everything. I knew where I was going to undergrad, where I was going to med school. From there, I'm like, okay, residency was going to be this many years. And I thought I wanted medicine. I thought that's actually what I loved. But come to find out, when I came home from college, I was at college for 1 year, and something happened in my family. So I had to come home, and I got thrown into the family business. And I didn't think I loved it. Matter of fact, when I was in high school, when I was working for my parents' business, I did not like it whatsoever. I was like, this is so boring, spreadsheets.
What was the family business?
And it's private schools for gifted African-American children. It was education. My mother is a doctor of psychology. Father was in finance. And so I would come into the office, and I just thought it was boring. I just thought everything was just so boring. And when I came home from college and I walked into that office, it was different because I was now in a position where I had to help the family by stepping into a role of leadership at the school that was something I had never even thought that, I could do. But come to find out, I got bit by the business bug. And I found out in that first, when I was 19, coming home, that I love business. And I could not stop. I couldn't stop it. It was like I lived, I breathed. I couldn't stop researching. It was like all the things that, as you mentioned, as a child, that curiosity, it came alive in a way where even science, that I thought that was my path, it couldn't even compare. So I came along my passion through something, through a trial in our family that, I just was like, this is just not the move. But come to find out, that was how I found my passion, and I've been going ever since.
I love it. And that's big because for a lot of people, they maybe brush something off in the beginning and then they don't give it credit when it comes back to them. Right. And so for you, I feel like that was what I heard. It was like you already kind of had that foundation built into you. And I think where that's relevant for people nowadays is it's already the thing that you grew up with. So you knew about it, but you necessarily wasn't, it was almost like you're searching for the forest when the trees are right in front of your face.
That's it. That is it. I mean, and for me, I really thought that, I was going to do my own thing. Like I wasn't going to be a part of the family. I was going to do my own thing. And it was just so interesting that, sometimes the things that we are resisting come back to nip us in the butt and be like, just like what you said, this is what you're called to do. And this is why I always tell people, never tell the world what you aren't going to do, because you never know what may come back around. You simply say, I'll never be an entrepreneur. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. And you really don't know until your purpose leads you, so that's why you never reject anything, because you never know what may be your big bang, what's going to be that next big step.
I love it. Now, you just said something that was a big word and a word that so many people are searching for nowadays, especially, you have the pandemic, you have everything that seems like it's evolving, and people are searching to figure out their purpose. They're searching to figure out what is the thing that they can add value in this world to be able to also get paid from it. So that's something that you've been able to help people shine on for the past, well, first, let me ask the question, is it more important for somebody to be finding their passion right now or trying to solve a problem that can create profit for them?
Well, I think it's both. I think that most people I have found, they rarely have a purpose problem. They have a profit problem. Yeah, I think a lot of people, like when you think about purpose, for instance, I think that we have purpose the day we're born. And I think people, when they look at purpose first, they always look at purpose of what is it that people will know me for? Like, what is it that like I can hang in front of someone like a name tag and say, hey, this is me, right? And I think that for so many people, they view purpose incorrectly. People are searching for it because they don't feel important without it, right? But yet they've had purpose their entire lives. It's just about figuring out what you're going to monetize as far as a skill set. Because again, you've already had purpose. You've had purpose since the day you're born. So you first have to make sure that you don't view purpose as some kind of label you need to validate that you're important, right? Wow. And then from there, you need to figure out, okay, how I'm going to make money from a skill set. It's not really how do you make money from your purpose, because I believe that purpose is multifaceted. Like, I don't want anyone to tell me that my purpose is, one thing. Like somehow, Genesis, well, your purpose is helping people monetize their genius. Well, no, that's not true, because I'm a sister. I'm a future wife. I am a advocate. So I don't really want people to tell me that my purpose is one thing. That's just so limited, but my skill set, right, that I am good at and that I'm the best at, that's something else. So when it comes to, understanding purpose, I always tell people, don't define purpose by a title, because that's really dangerous. And you will feel as if you're not important because you don't have you don't have, well, what can I be known by around the world? That's dangerous. That can be really dangerous. So I think it's better to look at it from skill, rather look at it more of, okay, what kind of company do I want to launch that has a purpose? Got it? Because, that's really how I view it. And from that, you should enjoy it, right? So, whatever you're going to monetize, don't let it turn into something that you feel like is going to chain you down, right? So if you're going to do something, do it with passion and do it with purpose, but don't let it be your all in all, if that makes sense.
It does. And for many people, that's a big deal. And I think I even struggle with that, if I'm being honest, right? What's that title? And feeling like if you don't have a title, because I feel like some people, not everybody is multifaceted. Some people, they find that one thing that they love in life and they're happy with that one thing. But then you also have the people out there that they say, you know what, I love being more of a generalist, right? I love being able to help people in multiple ways. And I think that's what also keeps me coming alive, because it keeps my iron sharpened, because I keep learning new things and being exposed to it. And so I think that for a lot of people, they struggle with that. And so I'm glad when you said, like, don't limit yourself to that, because we all have a purpose, and that purpose was already put on us the day that we were born. And for most people, I think it's a general purpose, and it's to improve the lives of other people around you. Right.
Yes,
but how do you do that? You do that by your skill set. What's some of the biggest, or not even let's say biggest, but what's some skill sets that you think that, most people are underutilizing right now, that they can really start to monetize this thing? Because people say, okay, well, what am I good at? Well, I don't really know what I'm good at. How does someone find out what they're good at? And maybe they're naturally good at it, but we just don't ever really think about that one skill set.
I think people overthink. I think they overthink one of the things that my father taught me. He said, making money is easy. He said, but people overthink on how to make it. Right. Like, for instance, he said, think of it like a child that sets up a lemonade stand. Right. We look at lemonade stands. We say, oh, it's so cute. It's so simple. Right. I go outside, I make some lemonade, and I go sell it. Right. Right. We become adults, though, we overcomplicate it. We're like, it needs to have this, and the lemonade needs to have this, it needs to have that, it needs to have this, right? But at the end of the day, go out and sell some lemonade. And people don't really take it that simple. They really feel as if, it needs to have all these functions. I remember when, I started my career, my first business, in graphic and web design. And, I was overthinking it, because I was like, what is it that I'm good at? And my father was like, what is it that you do that you like to do? And, you could keep on doing it, and so much about it that your knowledge never stops. Right. And for most people, there is something that they love to do, that they're passionate about, and they would love to make money from it. Right. But they just didn't count it as something that people would pay for, because they never thought about it. They just never pondered it. So my first thing is, the first skill is to stop overthinking. Stop overthinking how to make your money, right? You figure out if you're awesome at talking, well then, hey, okay, maybe I need to try sales. Hey, maybe I need to, make money from my mouth, through, motivational speaking and teaching a skill. Hey, maybe, if I'm a thinker, then maybe I'm a strategist, So I think that it's simplify what you love, and then figure out for yourself, based upon self-awareness, what's the best way to do it. Because I have also found that the second skill is, you got to have self-awareness. Because, for instance, if you aren't patient, you probably shouldn't be a coach. You probably should not be something that, you spend a lot of time with people, because let's say that's just not your skill set, right? Or, if you don't like to travel, even though I think that's a skill everyone should have, but maybe, you do something a little bit different that fits, what you like. Or maybe, you're someone that says, I don't really want to paint, but I want to teach people about art. So I think it's, number one, don't overthink. But number two, become self-aware, so that once you find what you are passionate about, you don't turn it into something that you may hate down the road, because you neglected how you want to do it, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense.
Oh, it makes 100% sense. And I think both of those are keys to life. Just what you said, that's mindset is the biggest reason that most people don't succeed in life. It's not because they're not capable, but it's because they think that they're not capable of it. So they already count themselves out in the beginning, right? Or they think that they don't have enough resources. So they say, oh, that won't work for me. For you, what was the aha moment when you were like, look, I am a very good coach? Was there an epiphany or things like that? Because did you have struggles when you first started out?
Oh yeah. So, sorry. When you say did I have struggles, it's like, where do I start the list? So my first company was graphic web design, and I didn't start my coaching and consulting firm until 2014. So I was 19 with the family business, and then like a year after, I started doing graphic and web, and then I, made it an actual business instead of a hobby. And then 2014, I launched my actual consulting and coaching firm, where it was more focused on me teaching people how to monetize their eye. And so I'll never forget when I was making really good money. I hit my first 6 figures my second year of my graphic web design company. And I was like, okay, I want more money. I want more of this. I want more of that. And a woman who I had on as a retainer client for my graphic web design business, she was like, listen, we need to bring you in as a strategist, right? Now, again, I was so set on doing design, right? Like, I'm a designer,
Right.
And she said, we love you as a designer. She said, but you have been able to provide for us strategies on top of the design that we didn't pay you for. And we've been seeing these results from you. Basically, you've been providing us consulting, but you haven't been calling it consulting. And she was like, we need to bring you on. And I got my first, just for like a few hours, 5-figure contract. And I was like, oh, this is just like, so, because in design, it's like hourly, it's this or that, it's like based upon the project. But she was paying me strictly to speak and to tell her what I thought. And when I saw those numbers come in it was like just for a few days, for just a few hours for those few days, I said, oh, like, and at first I was like, I'm not going to name it by name. But when she was like, we need you, we need Genesis Dorsey. I was, because it was like, I didn't have to hide behind anything. I was enough. My brain was enough. And it just took the limits off of everything. I mean, the brakes they came off.
And so that just goes to show, for somebody out there right now, you were operating in what you loved, right? And you were given value in that, and other opportunities came from that. And then it was just recognizing that opportunity. And sometimes other people will put it in your face to say, hey, no, we want you to do something else. And then you got to sit back and not be naive enough to think that you aren't enough. And so I'm so happy that you said those words, those 3 words, which are so powerful. I am enough, right? Whether it was your name or whether it was just you thinking that, that's great to hear in itself. When you first started, was it only you? Because for a lot of people right now, they say, you know what, I would love to do this, but I don't necessarily have all of the skills and I don't know how to build a team. At what point did you start to build a team, or was it only you in the beginning?
So my graphic and web design business is where I first grew my team at. So one of the things that I learned very fast, and I learned this from the family business, is that if you don't hire, you will expire, because you only have so much human capital. You only have so much within one person. So what I did was, when I first started my graphic design business in my first year, it was all me, and I was exhausted and tired, and I was undercharging. It was just horrible. And what I did was, I figured out that, again, I was the brain. So what I did was, I was the sales calls and did the, kind of like setting up what the whole project would be. And then graphic designers and taking the projects to make sure that everything went as planned. That blew up revenue, because it took me out of running the business and it put me into moving the business forward. Because, you can't, one of the things I tell people is that you have to at some point become the CEO.
And so what is the primary bulk of your business right now?
Ooh, which business? The family business, the graphic design business, or the consulting and coaching firm? Which one are you speaking towards?
Well, I guess which one do you focus the most on, and like which one drives the most income for you right now?
Well, the one that drives the most income is the coaching and consulting. And that's the one that drives the most income. And that's the one that gets the most focus, in the sense of, we're doing a lot of things right now as far as, again, like building up passive income offers. So tons of courses, passively built coaching programs. And being that I'm the face of that one usually is the one I have to give the most energy for, right? And because we have a smaller team on purpose. So that's the one I'm showing the most up for. And, the revenue's coming in with that one. And it's the one I'm focusing a lot more when it comes to ads and, all the fun marketing stuff. But it's been paying off. I mean, it's been 6 years, and it's amazing what can happen in a short period of time. And you don't have to pay your dues to be successful, I've learned. Like, I learned, a lot of people told me, like, when you get in this business, you got to pay your dues to hit certain numbers. And I'm like, I have to be in the game for how long? I've been in the game for 20 years, and you won't see these numbers until you're here for 20 years, right? And I'm like, well, I did that in 2 years. So I've learned that, if you show up in your business and you get strategic and you focus, like I did with my consulting and coaching firm, you can hit whatever goals you desire, as long as you have the plan in place.
Hey, what's up, Dream Builder? Have you been getting any value out of this episode? Would you like to get more exclusive content just like this delivered right to your inbox? If so, head on over to DreamNationPodcast.com and you can sign up for the email list, and that will give you access to exclusive content and more interviews just like this that's going to be delivered only to our tribe. So head on over to DreamNationPodcast.com. Let's get back to it.
Talk to me for somebody that's looking, because that's a hot buzz industry right now. A lot of people are thinking, and especially with things out there like Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins having that KBB and things like that. People look at it and they say, look, I would love to be a coaching consultant, but I don't even know where I would get my first client. I know exactly what I can maybe talk about, but where do I go to even find my first client? What would you recommend?
Ooh, well, you can find clients everywhere, but I'll give you where I found mine. So before I was running ads, okay, because you can't just go straight to ads, build a funnel, run people through and get it that way. But if you're talking about like guerrilla, like from the ground, grassroots, I started with social media. I really did. I started with social media. And that included LinkedIn, that included Facebook. And at the time, I really wasn't using Instagram, but definitely Facebook. And I was very clear. You know, when we talk about value proposition, you have to be very clear on what you're doing and who you're for. And I found that clarity, it helped people to either come straight to me, or it helped people to point others to me, because from the gate, I was clear. Now during the, I will say this, when I started out doing one thing, across time I've pivoted, but at least I was clear on what I wanted to bring people. And I positioned myself as an expert. That's really big. So, if you want to get your first client, you have to show up as if you are what you say. A lot of people, they show up like, I want to get my first client, I want to coach, but that's actually how they sound is how they show up, And so you have to show up as if you're expecting clients, right? Even the way you talk, how you talk should be like, I've opened up the doors. I'm so excited about clients that I know that we're going to have coming through these doors. Most people, when they launch a coaching business, they don't talk like that. They're like, I just opened it up. We're new. And, we're so excited about this new program that we just launched. We just opened our door. I mean, you sound like, it's like a baby with the baby diaper just came out the womb.
Right.
And, you don't have to sound like that. You should sound like you're the expert. And I always tell people that just because it's your first year of business does not mean that has been your first year of expertise, right? Because you should only be coaching people on what you're an expert in anyway, right? So it's not like you pick coaching or consulting because it's something to do. You do need to know what you're talking about, because people want results. And if you can't give results, it's not if, well, I can talk and I can inspire. Yeah, but can you give results? Like, can you actually transform somebody's life? So if you know you can do that, when you show up online, you need to talk as if that you are the transformational, expert. And what I tell people as well is getting your first client means you have to network your behind off. So if you show up and you try to hide, people go online, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go live. I'm not sure if I want to, I want to keep my circle small. I'm like, well, how are you going to make money? And you have to get over the fear of talking to people, otherwise your money is going to be just as shy as you are, So I learned that when I got online, oh my God, you couldn't tell me that I was not ready. I mean, I was talking, if you were new, I was, hello, hi, what's your name? Oh, great to meet you. What do you do? I was connecting with people that I felt were great people to connect to, and what I found was that that's how clients started to come. I was showing up online. I was positioning myself as an expert. I had a clear value proposition. So people knew exactly what I coached on, how I can help them. And I was really good at my marketing. So I was always pumping out. I was talking to people about my offers. There was no gray area of what I offered, how you signed up, where you clicked. It was clear. And that's really how you begin to get your clients, is by being clear in what you offer, how they can get it, networking, and really not being afraid. Rejection, listen, screw it. Keep on going. And just keep on going, honestly, until you start to see breakthroughs, which can happen as soon as you want them to. You just can't give up.
I love it. Was there ever a time in these last 6 years where you've been having, so much growth that you maybe thought, look, I think I'm done with all of this?
So when I turned 25, I had a panic attack. And I was just like, I'm not doing enough. Right? This is what I first said. I'm not doing enough. I mean, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And then I was like, you know what? Well, maybe I'm doing too much. And I told myself, you know what? I'm going to shut all this down. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have my babies. I'm going to become a housewife, and I'm just going to enjoy my life. That's actually what I said. I can't believe I said that, but that is what I said. But the biggest thing that checked me was, if I'm going to have kids, right? If I'm going to do all this kind of stuff, what kind of legacy am I going to leave for them if I quit right now? Like if I quit at 25, I mean, I need to get some things really set up. I mean, I'm already making money, but I mean, if I quit now, I mean, I would really miss out on some real scale like some things that could really change the trajectory, even where I am right now. You know, right. If I could achieve all this at 25, imagine what the next 10 years can do. And, and I'm thinking about legacy. I'm thinking about impact. If I quit now, I'm going to cut off further impact that I could give to others, And so my mother, she told me, it was just like another aha moment. She was like, listen, we don't quit. And she was talking like our family, because our family has been through so much. And she's like, that is not, you think it's resting, you think it's relaxing. You think it's okay, I've done this. But she was like, what have you really done? And so I like listed a few things. And she said, now what have you done for others? And I listed a few things. And she says, by the time you hit your 30s and 40s, she said, the list of what you've done for others needs to outweigh what you've done for yourself. She said, you've become successful for yourself now. She said, but now you have to use your wealth to do the same thing for others. And my parents have always been like, our job is to build wealth and then help others build wealth and to help others, get to where we've gotten. But you can't do that if you think that somehow you getting somewhere is enough. And I mean, that checked me so hard. I mean, it just checked. She reminded me of my dream things I want to do for others, nonprofits I want to launch. She's like, you can't do it. It's just, you're selfish. You're being selfish,
right.
And I mean, it just really checked me. And from that point on, I've realized that I had a grow up moment. I was 25, and I think I really had I think I was prideful too. I really thought that somehow, because I was 25 and, making multiple six figures, and somehow I knew everything, and somehow it was wisdom, but I had a grow up moment, and it was, listen, you don't just do this for yourself, let's keep on going. So that was that moment. And it's definitely, it was a shaking ground moment.
Right. Well, kudos to your mom, obviously, for setting the foundation, but also shaking you, because that's the reason why we have you here. You could have been retired. Would have been like, wait, 3 years from now, we supposed to have you on the show. You're like, nah, sorry, it was too much.
It's too much. It's funny because looking back, on things now, I have more books to write. I have more people to impact. I mean, even with this pandemic, this is a purpose time right now. Like, I don't think enough people realize that when moments like this are of great crisis, it's a time where your impact is almost multiplied, because people are even more hungry and even more thirsty for change, because they're going through crisis, and crisis it's a catapult for change. People want something different because what they're experiencing right now is catastrophic. And so, I'm just like so grateful. I'm like, man, like if I would have quit 3 years ago, then like what's happening in my business now? Like I'm seeing figures, I'm seeing impact, I'm seeing conversations that this pandemic has caused that even as a nation we haven't been having. You know what I mean? So I think it's just like, you never know what the clock is going to do. So don't cut off the clock. People think that like time is like an enemy, but time is not. Time can be a blessing, because it can do things that you can't do. It can create opportunities, or even, storms that we think may take us out, but it actually repositions us to do even more, so I'm really grateful that I didn't throw away the clock. I'm really grateful.
Are you an avid reader? Do you read a lot? Do you listen to podcasts, YouTube?
Oh my gosh. I am definitely a reader. My favorite My favorite place in the house is the library. I'm an avid reader. I love podcasts. I listen to a lot of YouTube. So yeah, definitely a reader, definitely a lover of anything of knowledge, right? Because I mean, that's me. I'm the curious cat. So I have to keep on reading.
For somebody who's thinking about starting to blaze, maybe they're the what is that 25-year-old Genesis, and they're about to throw in that towel, but maybe they don't have that mom and they don't have that foundation, but they can go get them a book, right, to start to blaze a path similar to what you've done in these last couple of years. What's that one book that you would recommend?
Okay, it's actually here in my library. It is by Dale Carnegie, and it's actually a collection of works into one, but it's Dale Carnegie's Lifetime Plan for Success. And it includes how to win friends and influence people, and then how to stop worrying and start living. And it's like really old school. I'm not even sure how old it is. I may have to but I've read it over and over and over and over again. It's like a really thick read, but it combines two books that transformed my life. How to Win Friends and Influence People transformed my sales game. It transformed me learning how to network with people, because I'm really an introvert, like truly. But I've learned how to turn it on when I need to, I got to expand my horizon. I have to, obtain the things that I want on life and impact people. Okay, I can't hide in my hermit hole all day, which is what I want to do. So How to Win Friends and Influence People was like the game changer by Dale Carnegie. And then the second book, which is in that one, which is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, because as somebody who felt as if, okay, what if this doesn't work? Like, what if I don't succeed? Listen, you have to let that go. And so that, to me, it's the book that has both of them in there. Again, it's called Dale Carnegie's Lifetime Plan for Success. That to me was because it's a mentality conversation. And if you can change, like what you just said, if you can change mentality, a lot of other things fall like dominoes. It really does.
Yeah, I love that. And Dale Carnegie's book, everyone should read it, regardless if you feel that you're an extrovert or an introvert, because it will allow you to just understand that it's not always about you. So this has been a phenomenal conversation. There's a couple of things that I want to end on, and I'm so excited to hear what your responses are. The first one is, you've given so much wisdom. Is there one quote that you live by in life? And if so, what is that quote?
Assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. That's my number one. That's what I live by.
Say that one more time for people in the back.
Assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Because a lot of people assume things in life, and there's no basis for an assumption. And I've carried that. Some people like, that's your quote. I quote it a lot, but it's so true, because if we think about, like, with business, we assume things and then we don't do it. But the assumption has no basis of knowledge, because it isn't based on anything. Assumption is like what I think, but it's like based upon just solely what I think. It's not based upon actually any facts. That's not based on any data, right? Or data, whichever way you say it. It's just based upon what my emotions or my mental or self-esteem is telling me, but it's not factual. And I've learned that I put it like this, myself, I used to be very emotionally driven. And so I would make tons of assumptions based on my emotion. And it was never based on my actual skill set, what I could do for people, how I could transform people's lives. And it carried in every single area of my life. Relationships, I would assume things that didn't even happen. I would assume things that the person would think they weren't even thinking. And it would create circumstances in the relationship. And it's like, but I didn't even say that, but I wasn't even thinking that, but we didn't even do that, right? So I've learned that Genesis, don't assume anything. Go after everything. And we see what actually happens. Let's see what actually happens, right? So I've learned, like, I'm about to do another venture. And at first I was letting assumptions rule me. And I remember my quote, assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Until you actually know something, until you know that it won't work, then you can say it won't work. But you can't say something will not work and you have not done. There's no data. There's no hard driven proof. You gotta wait. And that has helped me in life so much. So assumption is the lowest form of knowledge.
I love it. The next thing is there's somebody out there right now that is super inspired by your journey, by your energy, by your charisma, and they want to blaze a path similar to what you've done. But they have that little voice in their head, and that voice says that they're not smart enough, they're not strong enough, or maybe they just don't have enough resources. What's the one thing that you would say to that person to get them to just take action?
You have to stop listening to yourself. That's what I would say. Stop listening to yourself because you're lying to yourself. And you have to admit that you are a liar. You are lying to yourself. And you have to take personal action over the things that your low self-esteem is telling you. Your low self-esteem is screaming louder than your actual reality, right? And so your reality can change. You can transform your life. I mean, I've seen it in so many of my clients, in my own life. But you have to stop listening to yourself because you're lying to yourself. And so you have to look at what is it that you want to do? And you don't listen to yourself. Just look at what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to accomplish? And then how is it that I can bring execution to this? And don't listen. Don't. Now, unless it's like the wisdom voice that sits on one of your shoulders, right? But other than that, go out there. Just go do it. That's why I always tell people, just go do it. Stop listening to yourself because you're lying to yourself. So I would say, listen, don't listen to yourself. Just go out and do it and see what happens. And then, you can make a smart evaluation as you go. Because as I always tell people, you'll never learn if you don't go. And people think that somehow if I just sit here and wait, somehow something better will happen if I just sit here and wait. But nothing better happens when you don't move. So please don't listen to yourself. Just go. I think everyone has ego, and ego can be actually, I know some people think it's a bad thing. I think ego can be a good thing, but it has to be shaped. I think we're all, as children, especially, we're children, we're just enjoying the life that our parents or whoever grandparent, we're just trying to live, right? And then as you become an adult, it then becomes a defense mechanism to not move. A child is one thing because when you're a child, you don't have a ton of responsibility. When you become an adult, many times it becomes a defense mechanism to remain in whatever comfortable situation that you currently are in because you don't really want to change. So we'll say, oh yeah, I know that, so it's like, okay, but like, you really do need to save your money because if you don't save your money, you will probably be out, in the streets. Oh yeah, I know that. I know that. Okay. But that's a defense mechanism because you don't really want to change. There's something in you. And it's like what you said, decisions. That is what life is really built up in. And what we don't realize is that we don't actually have that many choices in our decisions. People think many times they have all these choices. And that's why they sit back and, oh yeah, I've got time. Oh yeah, I can do this. I've got the, and life, time passes. And it's because they really think that they have all these choices to make with their decisions. But what we don't realize is that when you don't choose, you still have made a decision. And there will be some kind of effect that happens. So if I choose to not save and something happens, I cannot say, well, it's just life happens. No. You chose not to save. You made a decision. And that decision now is affecting you in some kind of way. So we have to learn that when a decision needs to be made, don't allow life to make a decision for you. You need to decide. Because if not, there will be a byproduct that will happen. Something's going to happen. And it's not going to be what you want it to be. And I would rather face storms that I didn't ask for than to face storms that I created myself because I chose not to decide. Like that's the worst thing is to be struggling on top of another struggle because you did something as well. Sheesh, that's not it. But it comes from maturity. You got to mature. And that happens at no matter, what age you're at.
I love it. It's a great way to finish off an amazing episode. For somebody right now that did not take action on all of the wisdom that has been dropped in here, shame on you, because this has been a phenomenal, and I've learned a lot of things, and we're all trying to mature every single day, right? I don't think you ever get to the point anybody says, oh, I'm 60 now, I know it all. No, because the world is always evolving. Technology is going to continue to evolve, and we have people that will come after us that we have to be able to really show the ropes. Nobody's born being an expert in anything. We all have to learn. We all have to train, whether that's training on building relationships, whether that's training on figuring out who you are, or whether that's training on trying to scale a business. So you constantly have to be figuring out how can you mature. And so I want to be the first one to say thank you again, Miss Genesis Dorsey. This has been an amazing time.
Thank you.
For anybody who wants to stay connected with you, we'll have links in the show notes, but where can they find you at?
They can find me right at my name, which is genesisdorsey.com. And you can find all the links there, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, genesisdorsey.com.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to hearing the feedback off of this. And remember, Dream Nation, just as she said, you have to take action, because otherwise, if you don't, it'll only merely be a fantasy. And you know that here at Dream Nation, we're all about taking action. So we'll see you on the next one. That's all we got for this episode. Thank you for sticking around. That truly means a lot to me, and hopefully that means that we delivered massive value on this one. If you haven't already, the way that you could say thank you to myself and the team is just by heading over to iTunes and leaving a review and a rating. That's what iTunes loves to see. That's how we get out there even more, and I would definitely be grateful for it. I know the team would as well. Do me a favor and head on over to DreamNationPodcast.com. That's where you're going to be able to find all of the resources that we talked about in today's episode, as well as more exclusive content. And you'll also be able to sign up to our email list where we have more exclusive content. And we always love to hear the feedback from you all, because you're our tribe. So remember, in the dream we trust. We'll see you on the flip side.